your host Daniel with my father and co-host Jerry. Say hi, Dad.
Hello.
This time we're doing Godzilla versus Kong or Godzilla versus King Kong, however you find, whatever you call it, big lizard versus big monkey. Um, First and foremost, everybody that's gonna go to this movie is going to see Godzilla versus King Kong, and they have two fights in the movie, and they happen at the right times and they're the right length. This isn't a Batman versus Superman movie in which it's like 2.5 hours of misanthropic adventures of Murder Man and Jesus allegory, um, and with a minute and a half fight, uh, which makes the movie, I guess, good. um, like I said, we talked a little about this, and we both think like it had enough plot with both humans and the monsters to work really well. I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah,
the uh, yeah, it got reasonably good critical reviews,
yeah.
and although there wasn't much of a human plot in the movie, it was good enough to work with the monster.
Yeah, well, I thought they like obviously there's two Godzilla movies and the one King Kong movie, and I thought like the they like kind of defined Godzilla and King Kong pretty well. I thought like you obviously knew their motivations throughout the whole movie and everything. From that they kind of built up the world that they live in with these giant monsters that are going around and stuff. Uh, and that was interesting. You had the humans kind of just trying to like why is the essentially the humans give the backstory to the monsters for the most part, which worked. It didn't try to have the humans upstage the monsters, which is why you go to one of these movies.
Yeah,
You don't really need to make a good movie, but if you have a bunch of good Godzilla versus King Kong fights in a movie called Godzilla versus King Kong, people are going to get what they came there to go see.
yeah. One of the critics basically says you're going to forget this movie as soon as you walk out of the theater.
Hmm.
But during the time you're in the movie, you're going to watch it,
Hmm.
then you're going to forget the world.
Yeah, I don't know about that, cause like I still like I remember the fight scenes pretty well in it and some of it, cause I thought like I actually thought like, um, the fights, all of them were done pretty really well with Godzilla versus Kong,
Yeah.
both times they fought, both in like Hong Kong and on the boat, as well as when they teamed up to fight. I guess spoilers, the Mechagodzilla, which I actually wish they gave us more time with Mechagodzilla so we got to see some of his powers and abilities before they fought him.
Mhm.
Because I mean, I thought it was cool, like how he'd like use the jets and stuff when he'd go to punch somebody or and use them to move faster. And it wasn't just him using the robot things and the jets on occasions. No, they really worked it into like his fighting style and stuff, which I thought was pretty neat.
Yes.
Um, how they like lost. I mean, every everybody that saw this and like saw the trailer and knows anything about these two characters, knows that they were gonna end up fighting a third monster at the end.
Hmm.
Um, but it worked in it well, and like obviously the corporation's the big bad guy, and
Hmm.
blah blah blah. But like I said, it did continue the story from both like the last two Godzilla movies and the last King Kong movie, in which Kong just kind of wants to live his life and be left alone on his little island, and Godzilla's kind of out there, not necessarily protecting humans, but is the big dominant thing on there. And is just trying and won't let the other things attack because they're kind of his pets or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's very much that with more Godzilla hunting Kong than Kong hunting Godzilla.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, they did like spend enough time. They spent enough time with both of them.
Yeah.
Uh, Very much the Freddy versus Jason of kaiju monsters.
Yeah.
Uh, mhm. Like I said, I don't know on the human plots. Like maybe you could have made the characters more interesting, or the villains maybe somewhat. Um, but like in the time you're given with them, but they're not like bad and I wasn't annoyed by them, which is more I can say a lot of the times for movies like this. Um, and but I don't know if we still need to have like the conspiracy theory guy being right, uh, when he's
Yeah.
talking about like other crazy things other than just against the one corporation. I don't think that's quite a good thing in this world anymore.
Yeah.
um, but and I do think they could have built up Mechagodzilla better.
Mhm.
Uh, like they could have, we could have got more of him fighting things and his, like I said, see his abilities some more and like show how he's like, we know he's a threat because he's Mechagodzilla, but from what we've seen to that point, we don't know if he, in the movie at least, he wouldn't have been a threat until he came out and started beating up Godzilla.
Yeah. They waited to the very end.
Hmm.
You know, we
Like, and I get like, and maybe they could have built the mystery around what's going on at the company a bit better, um, and why they wanted this like power source thing, that they find at in like King Kong where his ancestors lived. Uh, but yeah, and like not reveal him at the end, but they kind of just reveal him, and he just kind of destroys a monster that like King Kong and Godzilla would have no problem with either.
Mhm.
It wasn't something like that we've seen that has fought them or has like maybe built up as a threat at all to one of them, or just had some problems with it. Uh, on um, and I will say this, like for the most part in the fights, they do use Kong and Godzilla's abilities really well.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, Maybe they used Godzilla's breath a bit too much, but like it was kind of cool watching. Like obviously there's the fight in the water and stuff in which Godzilla has a huge advantage, but and they kind of show him like going in and out of the water, dragging him down. How the humans are getting involved in that one to help protect Kong. And then when they fight in the city, you have King Kong like jumping on buildings, throwing things to distract Godzilla. Um, etc. Using his axe to block his blast.
Mhm.
Uh, and they do feel like in the water, it feels like Godzilla has a big advantage, but once they're in the city, it feels like they're pretty evenly matched throughout the whole fight,
Yeah.
um, including Kong winning a portion during it. But
Mhm.
and then, like I said, I liked their characterization of it because it also went to the ending after they dealt with like the big giant robot, in which Godzilla is still ready to fight Kong if he has to, but Kong drops his weapon and they just kind of go their separate ways. Because that actually, like, it sounds weird, but that felt in character for both of them.
Mhm.
Uh, which I don't know. I did like the last Godzilla movie. I know, like, it was a bit controversial, but I didn't think it was bad. And the one before that I thought was just kind of boring, and then it had that great third act fight.
Yeah.
And I liked Kong Skull Island quite a bit. Uh, what was that other one? Pacific Rim or whatever, the Guillermo del Toro one a few years ago, where uh was also a really good one like this. And I think this is probably the closest thing to something like that. But they do well with the scale of it. You get their big scale monsters and trashing the city and stuff, and the damage that it caused.
Mhm.
Um, the one
The
thing I will say is the human villains are slightly too stupid in this movie. Um, because like the one time they're like flying a ship and they just start shooting at Kong to get him out of the way, and don't expect him to just grab and crush him. Uh, and the other time, like they're kind of using, and I get like them kind of using the alien skull of something. But know it's not from this Earth and has apparently telepathic powers. So why are you expecting it? Are you like really going to put it in a giant monster? But it's minor. I mean, you're there for the fights. We were there for the fights, and they delivered on the fights. I think.
Yeah, I would say that
Hmm.
that is true. They, I think you're right that it would be better if we'd have known. Uh, they kept the mechanical Godzilla sort of under wraps into the end.
Yeah. Well, you could have shown like maybe like how pieces of him like work and stuff. Like we could have seen the power of his breath attack or something.
Yeah, they could have tested him out.
Yeah, or well, they'd have that small test, or like you could have seen like pieces of him, not even pieces of him, like the power of different pieces of him. Like you could have like you have the breath attack, and they could like show like
Yeah.
that and like because I don't think like if you knew what Mechagodzilla was, then that obviously would have given it away. But if you didn't know what he was, then you'd have no idea. And like if you like just apply any logic or know anything about like the Godzilla movies and stuff, it's like, oh, they make a Mechagodzilla. There's a Mechagodzilla, so that's probably what a company would make.
Yeah.
But you could have like they could have like demonstrated like his jet boosters or like some of the weaponry he had on, and say like, oh, this is a beta test or something,
Yeah.
uh, or or oh, like this is something that we're working on. We don't have adequate power. It's too hard to use now, because the reason they're going doing it, uh, going into the whatever Hollow Earth or whatever it's called is for that, uh, and you just uh, or something like and like I said, when they do reveal him, they need him to kill something that's a bit bigger of a threat. Like they have that monster that Kong fought in the bit, but he really only had problems with it because it took him by surprise. Maybe if that fight was a bit longer, uh, and he had a bit more problems with it, um, and then you show Mechagodzilla just come and go after him, and him just tear it in two or something to make it like much more of a like you have to show it was more of a threat to them prior rather than just when it's revealed.
Yeah.
Um, and like you do that, or just something along that way to build it up a bit more. Um, and I think that would have worked better. And like and I did think I talked a bit bad about the humans before. I did find them legitimately funny for the most part with a lot of the jokes. I thought actually worked pretty well in this movie. And
Yeah.
some of the bizarre things like you had Stranger Things girl and Deadpool kid, and they were both pretty funny uh, in it. Uh, with a lot of their jokes landing, and him just kind of getting, and the Deadpool kid just kind of getting drug into this and not wanting to be there in the slightest,
Yeah.
uh, and not even believing it for the most part. But still like being very competent in it. Like the one guy who they go to, like because they're trying to find a guy who buys a lot of bleach. Uh, just offering like how she's getting nowhere and trying to like convince him that he just offers him money, and she thinks he's crazy, and the guy just takes it and tells him the person's name.
Yeah.
That worked really well and made sense, but Uh, I would like. I know this is on HBO Max and in theaters, and I definitely recommend seeing it in theaters more than HBO Max because it's very much of a movie designed to be seen in theaters. I think.
Yes.
I don't know if like we both like this movie. I thought like quite a bit and probably more than we should. But I don't know if that would have been the same if we just saw it on our little TV at home without the surround sound and the big screen. It would still probably be a fun movie, but not as fun.
They, of course, the movie has done the best of any movie so far this year.
Yeah. Uh, and
And it's also been highly successful on HBO
yeah,
Max.
I think like it's approaching something like $4 million or something, 400 million,
Yeah.
uh, internationally, about 100 million in the United States, um, and yeah, it's and obviously there's HBO Max that is probably cutting into some of that, but and it's not like I can see why, and I can see why a lot of people like, especially people that don't see as many movies, really like this movie. Because first off, it is a fun movie. Um, and in like I said, it's called Godzilla versus Kong, and you get to watch Godzilla fight Kong in two pretty great action scenes. That like I mean I thought they used the environments well. Hong Kong looked pretty cool when they went there, and with the neon lights and stuff. Although it
Yeah.
looked more Tokyo-y, at least how we'd assume Tokyo would look compared to Hong Kong, but whatever. Uh, and The fight with Mechagodzilla I thought could have been a bit longer, and it would have been cool if they showed off his powers, but it was still a good fight, and you got
Yeah.
a good bit of them working together during it. Uh, and and like I said, and I did think, and I know I mentioned this before, but I did think they characterized both Godzilla and King Kong really well in these movies. Uh, Both have clear motivations. But both are semi-heroic in it. Uh, Godzilla's trying to stop Mechagodzilla from being built, or at least perceives it as some threat coming to both him and stuff. And King Kong and Kong's just was trying to get back with other members of his tribe and species. So and didn't really want to get involved with Godzilla until Godzilla kind of attacked him. Uh, but yeah. Uh, I don't know. I guess it's better than the original Godzilla versus King Kong movie. Uh, but that one's also entertaining, but not for the right reasons. And I do hope we. And I don't. I'm assuming they're going to continue these movies. I don't know if they said they had anything else after it, but. And I don't think they were. And I do know they did say there was no ending credit stinger like the other ones have had before. Because I think like Uh, I know the last one set up the fight between Godzilla and King Kong a bit. Um, and I don't know enough about Godzilla's villains to go. Who do you go after, King Ghidorah and Mechagodzilla? Probably Mechagodzilla. I don't, which I know is an actual thing, but whatever. Um, I don't know. Overall, this was just a really fun movie. It delivers on its promise.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say about it, or?
Uh, no, I don't believe so.
Uh-huh.
Uh, the I think that they had the fight scene was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was well choreographed,
Yeah.
and they had some interesting moves that both the monsters made.
Yeah, well, it felt like they knew the abilities of the monsters and knew like kind of like it kind of worked on how like Godzilla would fight compared to King Kong, who King Kong obviously would jump around more. Godzilla has his tail and his breath and the atomic breath. They gave obviously they knew they'd have to give King Kong something to kind of counter the breath with which they did with his axe. Uh, they and they and and it worked. Like you said, the first fight was pretty cool because one was in water and one was above, and him like jumping from the ships, and the ships firing stuff at Godzilla to at least disorient him, or and stuff so they could escape because they knew Kong couldn't take him in the water.
Yeah.
In the second fight, obviously, like you had King Kong climbing up the buildings, throwing rubble, them throwing stuff at each other. Uh, so yeah, no, it for a fight between Godzilla and King Kong, it was about as good as it could be.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's, and I mean that in a very complimentative way.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's probably, like I said, that's really all I have to talk about, unless you have one last thing.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, so we both recommend seeing this one in theaters. It's a good time. Go see it and have fun. Bye.
Not.